Hi, it's Harriet here, and this is an update on the first 2 weeks of my health renewal drive. 2 weeks and a couple of days to be precise. So I'm going to talk about what I've been doing and the results that I've got. I won't be taking measurements, such as weight, very regularly, because I find that this desire that so many people have for regular feedback, what have I weighed today, have I lost any weight since yesterday, it's unrealistic, it's delusional in fact, because what it is doing, it's trying to have change be like this, and change doesn't happen like that, especially at the beginning. You're finding your way forward through trial and error, and you're developing consistency. And I've resisted consistency in some ways, and so it's about bringing yourself to it. And you're never going to be as good at the beginning with certain skills like consistency as you are in, say, 2 months' time, as long as you keep going. And the other thing is the other reason that this linear graph idea doesn't work is that different things happen to us at different times in life, and when you've got a lot on your plate and you've got stress, that certain healthy practices can go to the wall for a certain amount of time. And so we need to take all this into account. So no measurements of results, certainly not on a daily or weekly basis. So what have I done that I want to talk about here? The first thing is experimentation. I just alluded to it. So everything is an experiment. I have two routines, I call them scaffolding, that I am doing every day. And I'm experimenting with what works with them. The great thing about an experiment is you can't succeed or fail at it. It just gives you information. And I think that's a really good way to go in. So when you are trying anything to improve your health, think of it as an experiment and sit back and be the scientist, be the outside observer. You're not good, you're not bad, you're just going, how did that work for me? So one of these experiments I've been doing is, as I say, with scaffolding, which is what some people might call rules, other people might call routines. And I have got two pieces of scaffolding that I've been doing. The first is daily food prep. I really have to get myself to do that. There is that compulsive in me that if I let her have a way, we wouldn't do any food prep. And then, oh look, I'm hungry, I must go and eat something very, very processed. So do food prep every day. Now the experiment I started off with was an hour a day's food prep, and I quickly realised that A, it was unrealistic, and B, I didn't need it, because sometimes I'm eating food from the freezer, from things from the previous day. So that was useful. So I've changed that piece of scaffolding, that guideline if you like, from I need to do an hour's food prep a day to I need to make sure I do enough food prep that I'm eating nutritious food. So for example, yesterday that turned out to be 20 minutes. So that was a really good way to use this idea of experimentation. It gives me data and I just refine my guideline, my scaffolding there. So I would say with that I've been pretty successful, because I can find times, because I've changed it, I think actually, from this just this very set, inflexible hour a day. I change it so I'm quite willing to work within that guideline. So that has worked really well. Would I say 100%? Maybe not, but maybe 80-90%. So that is the key to actually having the nutritious food. The second piece of scaffolding I've done has been what I call the 1 minute mouthful. This is a way of eating slowly. I could spend hours talking to you about why eating slowly is so useful. But I'll just say quickly, forget portion control, because if you eat slowly enough, you will not need to use portion control. you will stop before you overeat. And what I find in the coaching I've done with compulsive eaters is they all think they need to control themselves. This sort of being like a military junta, suppressing themselves. But that is not going to work because they're suppressing a food rebel. All the people I've coached, as well as myself, have been food rebels. You cannot control a food rebel. You need to soothe the food rebel, okay? So if you eat slowly and consciously, the food rebel has got nothing to revolt against. So I have made up many games to help my clients eat more slowly. There are some which are really fun, which are some which people use to show themselves that they can slow down. However, the one that I'm using, it's not that popular actually, but it works for me because you either do it or you don't. And it's called the 1 minute mouthful. So in this, what I do is I need to be looking at my clock on the wall while I'm doing this. And I take a spoonful of food and I say to myself, you cannot eat another spoonful of food before a minute is up. And so what generally happens is that I'll nibble at that. I might take all minute to eat it, or I might take half a minute to eat it if I'm hungrier, and then I just sit and I look at the clock. It sounds a bit boring, doesn't it? But it's incredible. It really keeps me on the straight and narrow. So I've been doing that. How have I been doing that? That's been more variable than the food prep. Sometimes I'm starving, sometimes I've come off an intermittent fast, and it's quite hard to slow down when I've just done that. And there have been a few times when I've felt a little bit manic, when I've been in a creative splurge. But generally, I would say I'm having a sort of 75% success rate with that, which is much higher than if I'd just tried to slow down. So a really amazing thing happened, and I've written down here less appetite. I have noticed that my appetite, especially in the evenings, is just not very strong because I've been making sure that I've been eating a lot more nutritious food, and the end of the day comes and it's a feeling of can't be bothered. And also I've had times where I knew technically I was hungry, but I just couldn't be that bothered with it. So what have I got here? The other thing here is that I can't overwork. Like everybody, I can just go and sit and dive into something and do too much work. But I've put here, it's challenging to drop 30 minutes off a 90-minute work block in order to do your food prep and eat consciously and slowly when really you just want to do a TV dinner. But what I've found in having that discipline and going through that discomfort is I've been clearer headed and I've been working smarter, which means that I've got the 90 minutes worth of work done in 60 minutes. And I think that's really, really important. I see so many people who think they're starting to feel overloaded, and at the moment it's December and so it's dark and there seems to be a lot going on, and it's really easy to just think I have to do, and then use food as this sort of fake energy to sort of hold you up like that, like that. And so what I've been finding, is much less appetite and less overwork. So don't you think that is a win? And then I want to talk about now what I think is my biggest win. What it feels like the biggest win is the Feelgood Factory. All right. So the Feelgood Factory is all of the happy neurochemicals in your brain. So dopamine. I know it's a bit controversial, but serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins, these sorts of things. So we're all born with the ability to use these. It's just we don't use them enough. We farm out relaxation and pleasure to food, to alcohol, to Netflix. Do you know what I mean? So what I knew I was going to need to do, because this was going to be challenging, was to make sure that I was keeping those neurochemicals, keeping those levels high enough. So I did make it a priority to, for example, be more consistent with going to the gym and not doing things in the gym that I thought I had to do, but like I love doing weights, because I get a kind of endorphin hit that I don't get from anything else doing weights. And then the next day going swimming, going for a cold plunge, which is a whole other thing. And by the way, you don't have to do this. A lot of people look at me in horror when I talk about the cold plunge, but it does give you a big hit, a feel good hit. And so what I found, because I've been very, very proactive and organised about making sure I'm getting the gym, and I'm getting swimming and a jacuzzi and a steam and a bit of cold plunge. Just the natural feel good environment in my head has meant that I've got no interest in coffee. Coffee doesn't really work for me. It messes up my digestion. But I would always have it as a bit of a treat when I could. Just I've got no interest in it at all. And also alcohol. I'm drinking virtually nothing, and I've got no interest really in drinking at all. What have I put here? Yeah, and I think this has really helped. I just think this has really helped generally. So that would be my number one tip for you, is go and research happy neurochemicals. Go, like endorphins. Go and research endorphins. They're the ones that are easy to get, your quickest hit off. That's what I'd say for the first 2 weeks. So I would say it's not been perfect at all, but it's a good start. I probably need to tighten things up and get more consistent with the slow eating and maybe plan more tightly with the food prep. But it's a great start. So that's been the first 2 weeks. So here we go. I can't wait to see what happens next.